Name our streets here in Charleston, very obvious names. Well, we're taking a left right now onto Church Street. I think you'll see in just a moment why they may have decided to call this particular street Church Street. Straight ahead of us is St. Philip's Episcopal Church. It is the oldest Episcopalian congregation south of Virginia. Well, dates back to the year 1682. Now I want you to look real quickly at the steeple of St. Philip's. It is leaning very, very slightly to the left.
Oh yes, it is.
It's kind of hard to detect, honestly, with the naked eye. But the reason it's leaning is because we had an earthquake in Charleston about 125 years ago on August 31st, 1886. A very strong earthquake that measured probably, if we'd had a Richter scale, they say it would have been probably about a 7.5. It was felt as far north as Boston, Massachusetts, as far south as Havana, Cuba, as far west as St. Louis, Missouri. When that earthquake occurred, the rear of St. Philip's Church on the left side of the steeple sank several inches, causing a slight tilt of about 3 degrees in the steeple to the east. Now, after the earthquake, steel reinforcing rods were retrofitted inside the walls of many buildings to help stabilize and reinforce and straighten up buildings that were damaged by the earthquake. They're called earthquake bolts or earthquake rods. They're visible in quite a few buildings here in Charleston. You can actually see some on the front of this brick restaurant on the left corner here, Bocce's Italian Restaurant. If you look between the second and third floor on the front of the building, you see a little plus sign.
Look, see the plus?
And we're also going to have the ability to see some earthquake bolts coming into view on the parish hall of St. Philip's Church on the far left corner. It's actually two steel rods that enter the building from opposite sides. And those two half rods are joined together near the center of the building on threaded ends with a giant turnbuckle. Anytime you see a building in Charleston with earthquake bolts, it's going to pretty much predate the construction of that building to the 1886 earthquake. They had been invented before the earthquake in Charleston, but they'd never been used in this city prior to that event. Here's a 3-story brick house over here on your left with quite a few earthquake bolts. Not only going from side to side, but also front to back in the same building. By the way, the steeple of St. Philip's Church took several direct hits of Union shells during the Civil War. I'll tell you why a little bit later. It wasn't enough to bring it down. That building was built in 1838 to replace a church that burned in a fire in 1835. This building on your left here is the oldest public building in the state of South Carolina. It's called the Powder Magazine. This building was built in 1713 to store hundreds of pounds of gunpowder. The walls of this building are solid brick walls that are 36 inches thick, 3 feet thick. Very thick so that if the gunpowder inside that building ever exploded, hopefully all the energy and force of that explosion would go straight up instead of radiating out in a circular fashion away from the building. We had several powder magazines in the 17 and 1800s. That's the only one that survived and made it into the 21st century. Across the parking lot over here to our left is another church called the Circular Congregational Church. This congregation was established in 1681, a congregation of dissenters. Anyone who did not want to belong to the Anglican Church or the Church of England joined this congregation. So it was originally made up of Presbyterians from Scotland and Ireland, Congregationalists from New and Old England, and also a small number of French Protestant Huguenots who came to Charleston seeking religious freedom from persecution in predominantly Roman Catholic France. Now, the circular church building that you just saw was built in 1892.